Welcome to the Beauties and Beasties podcast with Alex and Sean.
Hello. How are we doing?
Hi, dude. How the devil are you?
I'm all good. Welcome back. What have you got there?
Do you know, so that guy there is the guy who bred probably, I don't know if I'd say the best dog I've ever had, but probably the most favorite. Yeah, the dog that I favored more than any other dog, a little black dog called Dave. So it was a John Park dog. And I didn't, there's a book by him and it popped up on Amazon, so I bought it, and I'll have a read of it. So I'm quite interested to see that. For all the terrier boys out there, they'll know who John Park is. He got his dogs from Buck and Breary, who were like the originators of the black terrier, not the Patterdale. Patterdale is not a thing. The black felt terrier. So yeah, and then I bought some other stuff. If anybody hasn't tried these, I strongly recommend them. They are impact bits, so they're masonry bits for your impact driver, not for your SDS.
Okay.
They're awesome. Really handy bit of kit.
My only concern with those is because, of course, you're going from a relatively large bore with a lot of drag and a lot of friction to that then very small sort of like hex lock. Are they not prone to snapping?
Just power through shit. You're only banging them into mortar beds and stuff like that. So yeah, they're just going, because there's no as you say, there's no torque, there's no clutch on it, impact. That's what you want. You just punch them in and they just go. They're absolutely fantastic.
I have to say, I bought an impact drill and I love it. Absolutely love it.
Mate. Well, the downside is I was turning up today because I bought myself a brand new SDS Milwaukee drill, and it said it was delivered, and I've got the office and it hasn't been gutted. So I'm gonna have to have a fallout with the suppliers for that. It's Tool Station, and they use that Every, who used to be.
Oh no, not Every. Terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't have.
My very first labs used to be immediately next to My Hermes, which then became Every depot. And every morning I'd see sort of like the Hermes and later the Every van turn up, and then just a fleet of people turn up in their own cars. You know, not liveried vans, just their own cars, and they rifle through the great big crates at the back, and they'll just throw the stuff into their cars, and I could see it going like underneath the seats and the rest of it. And that's the least for your dog, which is, I was having this conversation only the other day, which is, oh, hang on, my internet says it's
you're breaking up.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're jumping in and out of it.
Have I gone Dalek? Oh, there we go. Am I back again?
Yeah, you're back.
Hello.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. I'm back. I was about to say, when it comes to cool. When it comes to dog names, I found that the best dog names are always people like based on human names that are boring. So Dave is an excellent dog name. Things like that.
No, he was a pumpkin Dave as well, mind you. He was. People used to giggle. I used to say, like, if he was a human being, he'd need a carer. You know, but he genuinely would have. Like, he was a legend in his own right. You know, anyone who knew him. He was a right creature. But yeah, here's the interesting thing. We're having a different format tonight. We are having the lovely Callie Ferrand and the lovely Hugh joining us tonight to talk iron firing and wages. I think Hugh and Callie.
So yeah, we'll just bring Hugh on for a second.
Go on.
That's what I was going to say hello to Hugh first. Come on, let's bring on Kelly as well. Then let's do it a little bit, especially since I'm bouncing in and out of signal apparently. So
Won't get
here we go.
won't get a word in edgeways with four of us.
We'll be right. I'll be right.
It'll be all right. So Kelly, how you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. I've had a long old week. Anyone who... Oh, sorry. This is going to be problematic with my signal, isn't it? I had a long old week. I was down at Widnes again with my BSF team, but also first sort of like I was shown off. I went down to the Kilgerm on the farm, down and dirty on the farm days on Wednesday and Thursday. So if anyone's listening to that saw that or came down, say hello in the comments and have a shout. But anyone who did see me would also have seen that I got so wildly sunburnt on Wednesday. And when I say sunburnt, I mean I got annihilated. I didn't realize I got so sunburnt, but at the end of the day, I walked up and Sharon Hughes, who's I'm taken over from, she looked at me and was like, "You've caught the sun." I was like, "Have I?" And I looked in the first polished surface, and I shit you not, you see the color of Sean's t-shirt. Yeah, I was bad, like proper lobsters, and it only got worse. This is after 2 days of intensive after sun and everything else, and I'm still sort of like my nose is all peeling and shit. So, boys and girls, remember the old song, "Wear sunscreen." Well, that's been my week. I got
Come on, we want some BA. We want some nice brand logo slouch hats from Kilgerm and various other suppliers.
See, this is it. Actually, on day one, in everyone's sort of like goodie pack, was a whole load of sun caps, which were given out at the end of the day.
There's irony.
Yeah. Day two, we didn't make that same mistake again. Like everyone through the door got sun cap and some like sun cream, and that was it. But it was a really good couple of days, actually. How about you guys? Anyone get up to anything fun, exciting, dangerous?
I had a bee removal today.
Okay.
Exciting.
Yeah. Honeybee removal. A lovely sunny day, very hot, and obviously not the best days to do a honeybee removal, but hey, you get on and do it there.
Exciting.
So
somebody ran into my van.
Oh yeah.
I saw that. Yeah.
Hugh, you mentioned this a little bit last week that somebody plowed into your van, but I'm going to sort of like mention here because it does worth talking about a little bit. The small amount of damage that we saw, which was, it's the front right quarter, really, isn't it? It goes over the wheel arch and a little bit back down onto the door, but realistically, it just looks like paint and bodywork. Nothing more than that, isn't it? Not a huge amount of damage. And what have they done to your van?
Written it off.
It's mental, isn't it?
Written it off. It's like it's crazy. It's like, just give it back to me then. It's my van. I want it back. But the worst thing is they've taken it up to London, past the wall, over the wall. They've driven it past Bristol. It's terrible. I feel heart-rendered. It's gone to London.
Did you have to take everything out of it then?
I took everything out of it, and they said, "Oh, we're going to take it away for appraisal." And I'm like, "Where are you taking it?" And they're like, "London." I'm like, "Okay." Well, and there's me expecting that we'll deliver your courtesy vehicle. I'm like, okay, we'll be there tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be there tomorrow at 2. And there's me expecting a flatbed pulling up with a courtesy vehicle on and my van onto the flatbed. Oh no, mate! He's like, "There's your keys." I'm like, "Right, there's my keys. Have you got your keys?" I'm like, "What? Have you got your keys? I've got to get back to London." I'm like, "In my van?" I'm like, "Yeah." No, it's 200 miles. Oh yeah. Okay. So then they get it.
Clearly,
and
clearly a total write-off if it can be driven 200 miles. Yeah.
So not a good week, but hey.
Christ on a bike. It looks like we're all having a bad time. Sean, Have you got some good news for us?
It's growing a beard, more of a beard.
Yeah. So no, I have got some good. I've got loads of shit happening at the minute. I'm probably letting a few people down, not getting back to them. We've got like 6 million bee jobs in the pipeline. A number of them have come forward and said yes. We put our biggest quote in for a job the other day. I can't even tell you how much it was. It was that big, like a scary amount. We're probably looking at taking someone on to do sales of pest software. There's hopefully a girl coming in 1 day a week to do chasing invoices and admin around the office. So it's sort of going okay. We need the money to come in to fund it all, which is a major issue. Because people don't like doing their part of they like us doing our part of the business. You know, they're not that keen on them doing their part of the business. They're trying to drag that out as long as possible. But if that comes off, then yeah, we're sort of dodging about, and I just feel like, and in the middle of all that, we're moving house. We've just moved house, and the house is a total back to brickwork and floorboards do up. So I go home of an evening. The Bens and Carly are living at the mother-in-law's 2 streets away, and I go back and do work on the house. So I'm I don't know whether I'm coming or going at the minute, but
and suddenly the purchasing of brand new drill bits makes a lot of sense.
Oh no, mate! I tell you why I buy new drill bits like this, because it just gets to a point where I think, fuck it, I deserve them. Do you know what I mean? Because and I'm like, you know what it is? I've spent a load of money on the house in skips and this and that and and I thought, I'm getting myself a new drill. I deserve it. So I bought myself a new Milwaukee SDS big drill, and I can't wait to get it. And it's not here. So there you go. But yeah, that's my sort of week. And if anybody does new drilling, I bought myself one of these as well, but the updated sexy version.
The sexy version of a Hulk aura.
Yeah, but yeah. Obviously, you don't do this shit, so you don't understand how sexy this is. But trust us, it's sexy. So yeah, but that's pretty much my life at the minute. I'm bouncing. Oh, and I had to requeen all my colonies the other day because they were due queens. So I've been spending a day a week with them as well on a Saturday. They're about finished, and they should look after themselves for the rest of the season now for Cannes, which will be incredibly helpful. But yeah, we've got that.
Do you think we need a podcast where we don't mention bees?
I don't like your negativity. If I'm on, do you know what I mean?
You know, it's back to the Beetlejuice, isn't it? Back to the wasp that won't be named.
Like Voldemort, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But bees are cool. So yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not part of the gang.
Well, I think Niall's going to join the gang. Niall thinks he's not. I think Niall's going to join the gang. We're talking about bees the other night, and I could see he was like, "You arsehole," because I got his brain ticking over it. So I'm hoping that Niall is going to become a gang member. I'm hoping. Niall, yes, no. But yeah. But let's talk hiring, firing, and what you call it.
Hiring, firing, and wages.
Yeah,
wages. Well, before we do that, for everyone listening, it's probably best that we actually give Kelly an opportunity to explain to everyone who's listening who he is and why it is that we brought him in.
Good idea.
So Kelly, yeah. So very quickly, just to begin with, who are you? You know, how long have you been doing this? And more importantly, how did you get to a point in your life where you're doing pest control? Because you can't have been doing this forever. So where did it all start?
Where did it all start? Well, long time ago. My background, funny enough, so Pest Tech started 10 years ago. Next month, we're 10 years old. And but before then, my background, I was in 16-year-old, joined the army straight from school, and that's where I spent 25 years from young 16-year-old all the way up to my 40s, going around the world, building bridges, building roads, that sort of stuff. And I was in the Royal Engineers, jumping out of airplanes, did a bit of airborne engineer as well. And I decided to come out for my own reasons. Got all the way up to regimental sergeant major, finished as a captain, and then I decided to come out. Family reasons was the main.
Wife take it.
She wasn't that keen. yeah. Well, funny enough, we've been married 30 years this year, but we've only spent 6 years together. So yeah, I come out. My daughter and science secondary school exams, all that sort of stuff, and so I come out of the army and decided to go into construction. That was my background at the time, and decided very quickly that that's what I'd done for the last 25 years in the army, and I wanted to do something different. So there was a guy spoke to me about pest control and told me all about it, and I thought, that sounds quite interesting. And I had a day out. Doing pest control, and I was like, oh, wow, this is brilliant. I love this. I can do this all day long. But very quickly realised that I couldn't go and work for someone because it didn't pay enough to live the lifestyle in which I was becoming a company to. So, I was like, right, off we go. And I started off actually with Pest Force. I did, obviously, saw your guest the other week. I started with Pest Force just before they sold. But I spent a short period with them. I was with them for about 6 months, Pest Force, and then it just didn't work for me. Some people enjoy the franchising side of things, and it just wasn't working for me. I just felt a bit too restricted and stuff like that. So I went alone, and and that was back in 2014. In fact, of course it was 10 years old. So 2014, set up Pest Tech, and that was me on my own setting up the business, and on we went, and we're 10 years old, and I've now got a team of there's 8 of us in total, me and my wife. My wife does the HR finances side of things. I've got 2 in the office also, one of which is an apprentice, because I wanted to try doing the old apprentice thing just to challenge myself a bit, really, and give a youngster an opportunity. And I've got an operations manager, and I've got 3 other guys in vans as well. So there's 5 of us out and about, and 3 in the office. So that's me in a nutshell. And here I am, hiring and firing.
Hey.
So when did you take your first person on then?
So I took the first, a bit of a strange one. So when I first, basically a year after I started on my own, I took on a guy. He was a full-time fireman. He was a full-time fireman, and he worked for me in his sort of time off, in the shift pattern and stuff like that. Now, the beauty of that was he was not reliant on me for work. And that took the pressure off me as well. And so he was self-employed, and basically when I had started off, I taught him how to be a pest controller. So I trained him up. So I was sort of paying him minimum wage, I must admit, whilst I was training him up. But for 3 months, he was in the van with me, and completely new to it. And we got him trained up, and then we agreed a sort of salary, and he did an hourly rate. I paid for his van and all his equipment and everything, and he was just an hourly rate for his labour, should we say. And the good thing about that was when we was busy, I could give him loads of work, and things quieted down. Obviously, the money come the winter time, the first winter, then obviously things eased up a bit, and I had to sort of cut his hours down. So that was an easy one, but that wasn't really what I'd class as employing people. Obviously, my next person I took on was my wife, who then started running the office because we were just getting so busy. And once again, she was more of a part of the business. So a year after that, I took on a technician, full-time employed. The only reason I took on a full-time, you just mentioned there, Sean, about getting a job that really can make a difference, and I did a job that was like just blew me away with the job that I did for a very good price, and that paid for a van and a salary for a year for a guy from one job, which and that really set me up because I knew I had the money to sort of afford it, although not the work 100%. So yeah, that was the first guy, but I had a lucky break, did a big job, got a good payout, and then that sort of put that money to one side. So that's where that really started with the employment.
And what about you, Sean?
So Killline was set up with me and my dad, and I don't think many people know this. Me and my dad parted companies, not spoke to us since. Real difficult time, but it is what it is. I haven't fallen out with them. I have no ill will. It's not like that. I just can't, I've got other things to do, and you get to a point in your life where I've got two little boys to concentrate on, but leaving the negativity aside, the Killline wasn't set up for me to be a pest controller. So the idea was that I would continue with my original business, and eventually when I physically broke, because it was a physical job, that I would move on to this. And I quickly wanted to do this. And then when me and my dad parted company, I needed someone. So I hired a guy very much like Kelly did, on a sort of self-employed basis. He was genuinely self-employed. He had been a police officer for 30 years. Great guy. Has his faults the same as we all did. And that just didn't work out. He was, I think this is one of the things we can kind of cover. And I know Peter Stewart hires older guys. I think if you're younger, it can be difficult to hire an older guy, because he genuinely thought he was like more worldly wise, and I should be listening to him and running the business the way he thought I should be running the business, almost the tail wagging the dog. So I don't have any ill will towards him, and we parted company. And then I hired Ellis, who's still with us. I was more than happy with it just being me and Ellis. And I got a phone call off a very good friend of mine, Sue Kearney, who said, "There's a lad down at my spot. Do you want to come and meet him?" And I said, "Well, I haven't got a job for him." And she said, "Oh, I'll come and meet him. He might do some work experience with you, etc., etc." And he came to us, and he's never went home. And I couldn't be without Ellis or Dale, the two great lads. But I say to people all the time, and I know the lads will take this the way it's meant, I've got two very good lads. I don't know how people cope if they get a bad one, because I stress 24/7. The thought processes going through your head, trying to make things work, and that's with two good lads. So if you had one who was antagonistic or nasty or couldn't be trusted or whatever it is, like as a one-man band, it would. I see these people who say, "I had one and I got rid of them and I'd never have another one," and I think, fucking hell, I don't blame you, because if you got a bad one to start off with, you hear these horror stories, don't you? You got arrested, you caught them stealing or this or that. I have no worries about my lads stealing. They don't drink. They're not gonna drive the van. They're not gonna do shit like that. They're just two good lads. And even then, my brain never switches off, to a point where I won't have another lad, I don't think, because it plays with my brain too much. I don't like it, you know. That's me. But yeah, when you used to come on and tell us your crack, Hugh, Al.
Well, you go first.
Okay. So I think everybody knows my story, really. First person that sort of worked with me was my son, because I was ill. He came home from university and kept everything running for me. Dad was driving him around and he kept it going, and I had to learn to walk again, got walking again. And I sort of said to Ryan, do you want to give it a go? So we both gave it a go. And then we got to a stage where it was back, you know, we had so much that we couldn't handle it. And it was a matter, I don't know, for Kelly or for you, Sean, the reason we took somebody on was not actually to make more money. It was actually to try to take the pressure off for safety reasons, that if one of us hurt ourselves or was ill or whatever, we had some backup that we could, you know, because we were like, well, what happens if I can't work again or Ryan can't work? We couldn't handle it. So that's why we took somebody else on to start with. And we were lucky. We were a bit like Kelly. We had some, but we did advertise and we just couldn't get anybody. Everybody we interviewed was unsuitable, shall we say. And we got to a stage where luckily somebody that was a pest controller phoned us up and said, would you like me to work for you part-time? I'm like, yeah. And that's how that first person came on board. And then,
Who was that?
Who was it? It was Tim Slater, from ex owner of Valley Pest Control.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was bored. He'd retired. He's one of those people that can't sit down, has to be doing something. And he phoned up and said, do you fancy me doing a bit of part-time work? I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, please. Yeah. And then, that's how it started off, really. And then I don't know, again, if Kelly and Sean find it, that you think you're not going to have enough work for them. And as soon as you take them on, because you've got that extra capacity to say to people, yeah, we can get there. You might not make enough money on it, but yeah, we can get there. Yeah, we can do that. Whereas before it'd be like, oh, Jesus, not another proofing job or not another bloody extra bit to add to it. You'd be just like, yeah, we can do that. So yeah, and that's what we did. And then we took on somebody another technician full-time directly. And then they left and we got someone else, and yeah, and we are where we are now. And thankfully, with the guys that we've been lucky, like Sean's been lucky. I'm not sure about Kelly's been lucky, but we haven't. I'm not even going to touch wood because I know the guys that we've got now, I trust them completely. So we've been lucky on that front, and I couldn't wish for better people to work with us. So again, Christ knows what you'd do if you get a bad egg. I remember when I worked for Rentokil, having to go drive round to people's doors and sit on their doorstep at 8 o'clock in the morning just to see if they'd turn out. And you'd be there at 8:30 and you'd be thinking, what's going on? My God. And they'd roll out of the door and get into the van. You'd be like, Christ, how do I deal with this? So yeah, I wouldn't want that. Your turn, Alex.
Well, my first experience of staff teams, because of course I was not running my own business when I had my first staff. I was working for someone else, so it was a very different process because it was less hiring. It was adding to an existing team and department rather than anything else. And For years and years, I used to run the Pelgar Insect Laboratory on my own. I think it was something like 6, 7, maybe even 8 years. I worked in a warehouse building on my own, which probably goes a very long way to explain why I am as mentally unstable as I am today. Yeah, don't you raise your eyebrows at me, Hugh. That was a joke. You're not meant to take it seriously. But yes, it got to the point where actually I need someone else to come and give me a hand, and so went out and found my first member of staff, technician. Absolutely, originally they were someone brought up through ranks of the company, but they were it was an opportunity for them, but I don't think they quite appreciated what it meant to have to clean out tubs, cockroaches, or feed 2,000 mosquitoes every morning, or do all of these other bits and bobs. It's not the exciting life you would ever imagine it to be. So they didn't last very long. Then I took on another one that from outside the company, and she did very well. She followed me across to Church Farm, and then Church Farm, it became rapidly apparent that actually just 2 people was not enough to look after this massive building with hundreds of rats, thousands of bugs, and so from there the team slowly grew and grew until finally, I think at the outset of it, I had 3 lovely ladies working at Church Farm, and I had a field test team, we're probably listening to this tonight, who were all independent contractors who would assist me with the field tests. So 3 full-timers and a whole host of subbies, but it was a very different kettle of fish because it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't my livelihood or my paycheck, my payroll on the line. These would be just members of a team, and so it's a completely different avenue to be having to deal with staff members, and it was a little bit more probably corporate, and the way in which we sort of had conversations was probably a very, very different affair.
How do you find people then, Kelly? How do you when you're taking something on?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is working out when you're going to need to take someone on. I mean, we've always sort of internally where we've grown, grown slow. The growth has been slow and continual, and you just get to that point where you just think, we just can't carry on like this. You don't want to burn the guys out and lights, and then it's trying to gauge that point where you say, now's the time. You got to work back from getting that bloke to turn the key in the van. Working back, it's going to take me, say 6 weeks to find him. And you're thinking, God, winter time, and we're just going to come up to summertime, and what's it going to be like? Am I going to get that person through the door? And it's quite difficult to judge that point where you say, no, we've got to do it, or do you start putting your price up, or go yeah.
This is good. I mean, I'm going to just jump in because actually I've just had a thought, which is you 3 guys are very much the indicative. This is the people listening to the podcast. These are the guys that wants to, you are the archetypal. You've done it before. You've done it, seen it. You know what to do. What I'm going to do is I've figured I'm going to just ask the 3 of you some questions that I know people are going to be thinking from this. And from this, exactly from you were saying there, Kelly, and this has made me thought of it. What is the right time, and I'll ask you first, what is the right time to take on that as a member of staff? What do you thought? What is, is it doing too much work and so you need to take someone on? Or is it, I want to expand to allow me to take on work? What was the tipping point for you? And you said you had a windfall, but what was the tipping point for you? Because you could have easily kept money and gone on a lovely holiday somewhere. Yeah. So what was the tipping point?
I can't speak to the others. For me, it was when you're delivering that service, you want to help everyone, and I think that was part of my problem. Was I was trying to help everyone, so I was probably saying yes to too much, and sometimes you've got to say no. And that was one of the hardest things I was finding. Say no to people, and they come to you and say, I need you to do this. I need you to do that. We trust you. We want you to do it, and you're like, and that was the tipping point. I didn't want to let people down. That sounds a bit peculiar. That sounds a bit weird, but it was helping people. That I thought, well, to deal with everyone's problems, I'm gonna have to take another person on. Did a few sums, and it was like, we're going to make this work. Obviously, the easy option for me, taking on someone who's self-employed and wasn't reliant, that was a no-brainer. But that was a typical way. It's partly me. I should say no more often, but I'm just trying to help people too much. I think that sounds a bit stupid.
That's excellent. And that kind of that leads on to another question, which I'm going to throw at either John or Hugh, whoever's first to shout out here, which is when you took your first guy on, because this is a question that a lot of folks here listening stumbles in. So we've got to a point, as Kelly said, where we want to take on more work. We want to start saying yes more than we're having to say no. You've either got an emotional investment or you want to see your business grow. But the thing is, when you take the first person on, how do you figure out how much to pay them? Because if you go straight in with the minimum wage, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. You go too high, and suddenly you're going to have a business model which isn't feasible. You're going to be running at cost. There's no point taking on another body. So I don't know, Hugh, Sean, either of you two, and we'll flip back to Lee for this because he's nodding away, so I know thoughts are there. But you guys, how did you figure out what to pay your lads? How did you figure that out?
For me, I looked at what the industry was the norm. I wanted to pay a little bit more. I looked at the national minimum wage and the living wage, and then I thought to myself, that seems like a fair figure. In the question I would ask myself is, if I was them, what would I expect to be paid honestly, hand on my heart, for the job that I am doing? And then for me, it's a case of in order to get paid more, then you have to do the job that deserves more, if that makes sense. So the wages for me, I know a lot of people have like a sort of structured thing. For me, it's like, if you do it and you're worth it, then I'll pay you it. The more they buy in, the more they try, the more they push, the harder they give, the more I'll give. But the wages is a difficult one for me, because I think wages is one part of a massive relationship that you have with your staff. People think it is the one part, but it's not. It's just one tiny part of that relationship that you have with them, what they expect from you and what you expect from them. And this is why I won't take any more. I would think I'd be very loath to take another member of staff on, because that balance is so difficult to maintain, that being the person that I am and my personality. And I think, and I would love to know Kelly, Hugh and Alex's thoughts on this. This was the one question I wanted to ask tonight. How do you balance the business side of it and the boss side of it? Because the business side of it is relatively easy, isn't it? Like, I pay you this much for doing this, and this is what I expect. The boss side of it is a whole lot fucking harder. A whole lot harder. Trying to understand what you're always worrying about, what they're thinking, whether they've picked up on things wrong, and and I am. How do you get to a point? And I understand why some bosses just go, nah, just do your fucking job, mate. Because it burns you out. It fucking burns your brain out. And and this is what I mean when I say I've got two good lads. How do people do it with a bad one? I've got no idea. I've got no idea. I would literally give up with a bad one. Like, I've got two good lads. Yeah. Like, how do you? Because the best bosses, the best business bosses, I'm guessing, are the ones that turn around and go, you start at 8, you finish at 4, here's your list, and they do not care one iota about, you get 21 days, and then there's the other side, isn't there? So how do you balance that?
Do you mind if I jump in first, just here? So during my sort of early days as a manager, I made a lot of mistakes because new intent, the rest of it, and everyone does. And I ended up being very lucky enough to be supported to go on a whole load of various courses, including 2 which have stuck with me for a long time. Number 1 was a course called Master Managers, which is probably actually it's not a long, it's just a day course. That's probably some really good CPD for a lot of you guys who are small teams. It was a real eye opener as to the fact that you can be someone's friend, but you are necessarily their friend at work, and there needs to be that division. It doesn't mean you have to be a hard ass. You don't have to sort of like be the tyrannical leader, but you do have to remember that first and foremost, the most important thing that you can give them is, not a joke and a high five and the rest of it. It is a wage. It is something to take home at the end of the day, to a roof over their head and food in their tummies. And that is the primary reason that you are a 9 to 5. After that, do as you like, so long as it doesn't impact on that. Yes, and the other one was a leadership course, and I actually the term boss. I don't like the term boss, but also you should aspire, in my opinion, to be a leader. So a boss is someone who says, "Do this," and that person does it. A leader is someone who says, "I'd like you to do this," and they choose to do it for you. And there's a chasm of difference between telling someone to do it and them doing it, and asking someone to do it and them being happy and engaged to do it. The outcome is the same at the end of the day, but the feeling and the emotion and the sort of like the engagement with it are two worlds apart. So that is my tuppence there, let's say. But Kelly, do you have thoughts on this? The whole mates manager syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, Sean, I'm with you. It is a bloody difficult situation. I found what I found difficult was going from a very come from the military background where you tell someone this is what we got to do, and everyone's, let's say, in the same direction. Everyone's focused on the end goal and stuff like that. To coming out of the army and then going into employment and employing people, where there's 2 sides of it. Some people just look at it as, I'm here for the money, and that's it. If I could do an easier job and earn more money, I'd do it. And you sometimes you're dealing with that balance of I can hear what you're saying, Lex, and Sean as well. And so it's very hard to get that balance. I found through my years of in business, having come out of the army, my early days, I was still, regimental sergeant major head on. This is what you got to do. This is what you got to do it. And it's trying to calm that down a bit. It's bloody difficult. And I'm still learning now. You know what I mean? And you try and get that balance right between, like you say, leading and managing. The 2 different things. But there is no answer. It's because you are you and they are they, and different people are different people, and there's no right or wrong, and there's always going to be mistakes and errors, and people get people's backs up, and it's just that's life of employing people, I think. Well, that's what I found.
I'd like to say the more people have, and this is back to Sean's comment of what I'd do with a bad one, but I was always told that if you were to take 10 people in any room and you were to talk to them or lead them or manage them or whatever you want to say, in that room there would be 20% of the people in that room would follow you to the ends of the earth. If you said we're going to go and invade the gates of hell, they'll be like, right, hold my beer, I'll go get my new and raincoat, and they'll be behind you in a flash. Then there'll be 60% of people there who relatively undecided, couldn't care. They're there for the paycheck. They're taking their gin tokens to be there one way or another. And then there's always going to be about 20% of people who you cannot win with. You could buy them a Ferrari, and they would claim that you were trying to get them a speeding ticket. They're not there whatsoever. The knee-jerk reaction is when you have a team of people and you get one of these, the last 20%. is you want to be on your side. So you put a lot of time and effort and attention. You want to convert the lower 20% into people who are going to follow and people who are in your camp, because you as a human being don't like the fact there is a group of people under your purview or sort of in your circle just don't like what you're doing, can't win them over. But the problem is the longer you spend trying to win over that 20%, that little group in the middle, that 60% who are undecided, they're going to look and say, I have a second, I work well, I don't kick up a fuss, I don't cause trouble, I turn up to work every day on time. And yet all of this person's focus and time and effort is being on these guys who are just bad eggs. So why should I try? Because I get a lot more attention, I get a lot more, attention is the only way of describing it, if I pay up rather than toe the line. So realistically speaking, when you do get a bad egg, you have to make that decision relatively quickly. Gone. If you're not gonna be part of the team, then don't be a disruptor, and don't bring everyone else down. And that's one school of thought. I'm not saying the only school of thought, but certainly in Sean's case there, you take a bad one on, okay, you can't fix it. It's probably not you, it's not me, it's you, kind of scenario. So that would be my tuppence on that particular instance there.
I think they said if your employees or people that work with you, whichever way you wish to put it, if they do the job 70% as well as you do it, that's about right, because nobody's ever going to do it the way that you do it. In your own mind, if you run a business, you've got that mindset with you that this is the way I do it, and if it's not necessarily the right way even, but this is the way that I do it. And if you can get the people that work with you to do it 70% as well as you do, I can't remember who said it, that's what you should be aiming for. Personally, I don't think so. I'd like it a lot higher than that, but that's it. But I think what you were saying, Sean, about the worry, I think that's the thing, is because we're all small business owners and we know our customers, and we want every customer to get the same quality of service and from every technician as the way that you would do it. And that's why you worry so much. The bigger the organization is, it's not worrying you the same, because you don't know who Mrs. Smith down the road is. If you're head of, I don't know, Orc in America, we won't pick on any of the English companies, you're not gonna know who Joe Smith down the road is, so you don't care until they start shouting and screaming that you've just killed their cat, or one of your technicians has killed their cat. So that's why we worry so much more, because it's a smaller organization.
I think it's a personal thing, to be honest with you. It's not even the customers for me. It's I just believe that if you spend that much time at work, you should be happy being there. And it plays on my mind that they might be coming to work and they're unhappy. But then, as Alex says, I watched a Gordon Ramsay Kitchen Nightmares. He goes in, he rescues failing businesses, and this bloke was like best pals with his staff. And there's two things that stuck in my mind. The first thing was, he ended up pulling all the staff members in. He said, this business is going bust, don't you? And the bloke was like, yeah, it is. And he's like, you might want to be their friend, but you're not a fucking friend if they haven't got a job, if they can't pay the mortgage. And I can remember that hit me hard, and I thought, yep, that's my first job. I've got to make sure that their wages are paid every month. But then the other thing was, probably, I don't know, 7/10 of these staff didn't care. As long as they were going to work and having a good time and getting paid, they didn't care that business was going to go bust. Did not care one iota, just go and get another job. And he was trying to be their friend. I was thinking, and this is the shit that gets me, because I'm like, I'll probably go the way Callie was talking about, saying no more often and putting prices up and providing a service that way, and we'll probably move into other things. I would never get rid of the two lads I've got now, ever. You know, if they go, it'll be their decision to go. I love them to bits as people and as lads, but I'm not cut out for it. I know I'm not cut out for it. You know, or I'd have to get like 20 lads where I could kind of sit back and think like, yeah, I'll do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like just let them like run around like wild ferrets. Do you know what I mean? Like I just couldn't fucking cope with it.
So here's then a question for you guys. So we've spoken briefly about, you know, the money, the incentives, you know, and now we've all kind of touched on the right person, having the right person for the team. There's small teams who don't have the luxury of, you know, I may have done like in a large organization having a big pool of people to draw from, and sort of like you can whittle it down. You guys, it's a very personal thing. You're bringing one person to the team, and it's a risk. So, you know, and we'll start with Hugh first, because he's managed to go last twice now. How do you find people for your team, and where do you look, and how do you vet them before they've turned up? So what do you do? Because again, that's a lot of people listening going to be like, I wouldn't know where to look to find someone. So where do you look?
We were very lucky. Again, we've been really lucky. We were recommended people. You know, oh, such and such is looking. You know, they're not happy where they are. Why don't you give them a shout? Other times it's been LinkedIn, not LinkedIn.
Indeed.
Can't think what it's Indeed. Indeed, and Facebook, local Facebook, because we want somebody local. We've never actually paid to recruit anybody, but we've been really lucky. You know, we've had people recommend people to us and say, oh, this person is looking for somebody. Just luckily, I know, you know, a few people that are in that position where they can recommend people. That's just luck, really. And we have been really lucky.
So you've recommendations and Indeed, and I'll come back onto Indeed second. So I have a question for all of you about Indeed, but with Sean and then Kelly, you've got the most to say out of this, I'm sure. So Sean, very quickly, where did you find your two lads?
So Ellis, I liked what I saw. He'd started trying to trap some moles. He just, and Dale, same thing, tipped up, right attitude, right, what have you. When we've actually looked for people, I look, and the lads will tell you, I don't do this anymore because we don't want to employ someone, but when we're going through a phase where I thought we might have employed someone, I look for people who are in work. So you go into your local sandwich shop and the lads know what I'm doing. I'll go, what time do you start in the morning then here? And they'll go, 6 o'clock. What day? How many days a week do you do? I do 5, but I do Tuesday to Saturday. And I think, all right, I'll work weekends if they need to. All right, do you like it here? No, it's shit. All right, so you're a grafter. You'll work weekends. And yeah, what do you want to do? Like, I don't know. I'd love to do something though. I'm like, all right, tick. You know, or they're writing down shit on anything. They've got tidy handwriting. Do you know, like I just look at stuff like that and then I think, yeah, would they? The other thing as well is, and I know that again, the lads probably won't mind you saying, the three of us are a bit of an odd bunch. We get on incredibly well, but we are not stereotypical people.
No.
And I've always said to them, if we had to take somebody else on, I would worry that we would struggle to find someone who would fit in with us without causing sort of upset or not getting it or what have you. I've got.
Do you mean fit? Does that fit in or fit in the straitjacket?
Exactly, yeah. Like none of us drink. You know, we're not drinkers. We're not partiers. We'll laugh, we'll joke on. Probably all three of us enjoy our own company for a very large percentage of our day. Like finding another person to fit into that dynamic and having them qualities, you know. So that's what I do. I'm like you, I don't ever advertise. I've never advertised. I'd never want to grow, so I don't want to advertise. But we just look for qualities, and I think the first thing to do is look for someone who's in work, because I always got told it's easier to find work when you're in work, which is true, isn't it? Yeah. Like, why the fuck do you want to employ someone who's on the dole or unemployed? who's not doing anything, where you're going to go. So we just look for, that's what we do. But again, really, we've done two sort of people, 3 people maybe. If you pick the other one, and then just can I work with them? It used to be, can I work with them? Will I get on with them? And now it's, will me and the lads get on with them if we ought to take somebody else on? And that's it. Go on then, Kelly. How'd you find yours?
I dabbled in Indeed on the last one, and didn't really find that too good. First of all, we're a local company, we're a local business, and we work in the local area. So I first of all, I just spread the word. There'll be Facebook groups, and do you know a pest controller? And the Facebook, some of the Facebook groups, you've probably seen me ads knocking around. It's more just to get the word out that I'm there and I'm looking for someone. I've gone down the training someone, taking from scratch. It is quite painful. It can be quite painful at times to train someone from scratch whilst you're trying to run your business as well, and all those sort of things. And so I've never take on more than one trainee, shall we say. But I've just put the word out through Facebook groups. There are obviously pest control Facebook groups. I put it out on LinkedIn as well because I've got quite a lot of followers. One of the guys that took on, someone contacted me. He was a pest controller, but he said, I know this guy, and he might be interested. And I was like, give him my phone number, and that's it. We just started chatting and stuff, and like you say, Sean, you get a feel for someone. You conversation you have with them, and you start feeling, get a feel for what they're like and what they do and stuff like that. But it's difficult, and my biggest problem down here in Kent is you're competing with London prices. I'm right on the border of London. Why would they want to come and work with me for X amount when they can travel and earn a lot more? And there's 2 sides to that. You've got the whole, some people just don't want to spend all their day in the van traveling to and from work. They want a quality of life, and they want to be, starting at 8 o'clock and finishing at 5. And that's great. But there's also the people that are looking for the big bucks, and so therefore, that sort of tempers the sort of guy you're going to get as well. And that's part of my battle, is London prices right on my doorstep. Yeah.
Kind of brings me on to my next question and/or statement, and I know Sean definitely has something to say about this because we had conversations before, which is, when you structure your job advert, when you put your job advert out, either on Indeed or Facebook or the rest of it, we all do the same thing. And you say the same thing in the adverts every time. Technician wanted, this is the salary. And you start the salary, and then you tell them, these are the things you have to do. You have to do this, you have to do this. And then by the time you get all the way to the end, you start to get the perks. Only with so many adverts these days, the perks are, you have access to a work vehicle. Of course you fucking do. You have access to PPE. Yes, because it's a legal requirement. And you find that a lot of the perks in these adverts are not perks. They're in no way, shape, or form perks. They are things. They are prerequisites of the job that the employer has to deliver and have to give. And I think it's actually all arse about face. Instead of saying these are things that you have to do, I think a lot of adverts, we can get a lot more mileage when you're looking for a new technician. These are the great reasons you want to work for me. And when I've hooked you with this, this is what I need you to do. Because a lot of people look at that first bit and be like, you know what? That looks like such good fun. I'm willing to risk the fact that I know that I'm 90% of the way there, but not quite, and I'll still apply anyway. Whereas if you put it the other way around, the majority of candidates would be like, no, I don't think I'm even close to that. I couldn't do that. And because you don't know what you're asking for, most of the time you'd be happy with someone who'd fit every one of those boxes. They're all the things you'd like, but you'd be happy with 50%. So, I mean, Sean, you go first, because I know you have views, and they'll go on to Kelly.
I hate seeing that when the put an advert out and the advert is, here are your perks, and it's like, you've lawfully got to give them it. That's not a fucking perk, mate. PPE, so you don't get bad lungs, like, fucking thank you very much. And I don't think it helps the person posting either, because what it's saying to them is, if we could get away without giving you these, we would, because we're not going to give you any extra. We're not going to do any extra. Yeah. And I personally believe that for me, again, I look at what I would want to see in an advert, and I think it's a perfect opportunity to explain what you want in a way that they'll understand that they're going to be the good fit. So if you said, are you looking to progress yourself? You know, do you want to do extra training? Are you looking to take control? Do you need to stop being a sheep and start being a shepherd? Like that, if you come to me, I guarantee you that's what you get. The lads will ask me questions and I know the answer, and I'll just shrug my shoulders and fucking walk off, you know, because I know they're going to figure it out. But like, I can't hold your hand, boys. Kelly said it earlier, Ron and me and you've had this conversation, leaders and managers. I honestly believe, hand on my heart, I'm a fantastic leader. I'm a fucking terrible manager. Terrible, and I know I am. Like, if I turned around to my lads today and said, listen, there's a job come in, we've got to bird proof the shard, do you think we could do it? They'd both go, yeah. I go, do we know how? They go, no, but we'll figure it out. And they've got that mindset, like, we're heading in that direction, we'll work it out. If I would try to put a process in place to make sure that boxes are ticked and that this is happening, that's happening, it fucking just falls to rat shit, doesn't it? You know, like, it's fucking atrocious. You know, like, it is like, oh, fucking hell, like, it boils my brains. So, like, when I look for lads, that's one of the things I look for. They have to be able to organise themselves, because I'm not the manager that can organise 4, 5, 6, 7 people and make sure that they've done the return visits and etc. I'm like, fucking done. Like, if I've got to hold your hand, you ain't right here. But if you want to be the person that's going to come and challenge yourself, then you're going to have a whale of a time, you know. But I hate that. I would never, ever, ever apply to a job ever where the benefits were the things that they gave me, like that the law said they had to give us. And I don't know what you guys think.
Kelly.
I mean, for me, it's trying to, you're trying to get the right guy to walk through that door. So you know, I must admit, I probably found myself guilty of never said, you know, PPE supplied or anything like that, but try and sort of, you know, we offer a commission scheme and an opportunity to develop personal development. That's my big thing, is getting the guys to do. When I take them on, what's your weaknesses? Where do you need to develop? What's your where do you want to develop? What do you struggle with that we can work on to bring you up to speed? So, you know, the personal development for me is a big thing, and things like giving them an opportunity to earn more money by commission and stuff like that through our little scheme we've got. It's just quite difficult as a small business to get across, but you know, the guy, they have opportunities to do their job and earn more money, if that makes sense. And they're the sort of things we try and sort of encourage. It's a difficult one to quantify. It's I don't know.
Here's a question, because this is the thing that boils my brains a little bit. When you're working out your figures, most of us will probably know the figures pretty well, I would think. Do you look and do you think, do you reverse engineer, you know, I've got a technician and it's going to cost us this much a year, so he has to produce this much work? Or do you look at each job and say, that job at £100, it's going to cost us £25 for his wages. It's going to cost us this much for that. How do you start to put together the money in your business that you need to invest to make it grow? Because it's very easy for a technician to see the money coming in and think they're being underpaid. But then if you were to sit and stagnate and not invest in the business, they would become so stagnant so quickly, it's unreal. You want to give them a fair pay, don't you? Like I say it all the time, if I could pay my lads £1 million each every year, I'd pay them it in the blink of an eye, because then you would keep your good lads, wouldn't you? You'd never lose them. Like if you could, you would. But you need the money to invest in the business, and it's very easy as an employee to sit there and go, so how do you work out your percentages on your job of what you're doing without running the risk of the lads thinking, fucking hell, like that old, I call it the employee mentality, where they sit there and they go, oh yeah, but he got paid £1,000 for this and my wages were only that and he's fucking rolling in it and blah blah blah, and you're like, yeah, but I just paid 24 grand for a fucking drain camera. But that, you know, like how do you encompass that?
I've always done it working on, you know, that if a man in a van has got to earn me a certain amount a day to warrant the contribute with the others to the costs of the running costs of the business. You know, but this last year has been particularly hard to. It's almost like everything's been thrown out the window, because you know, my fleet insurance has just gone, you know, through the roof, absolutely through the roof. 5 vans, oh my god! And I'm like, I didn't see that coming. Not, you know, not to that scale. And that sort of blows it all out the window. And then you struggle with what you're saying. If I could pay my guys £1 million, I would, but I can't, because I've just had a bloody fleet insurance bill that's, you know, eye-watering, and it's unfortunately the running costs. I'm always looking at putting the meal on the table for them, but you've also got to be able to run the big machine that enables that to happen, and things are not getting cheaper. You know, it is a difficult one to balance.
The thing is, if I explain that, you sound like you're doing the violin thing and pissing up the back and telling them it's raining, done it? Like, you know, like, oh, I'm sorry, lads, like, I'd love to pay £1 million. And they, like, a lot of employees will genuinely think that you want to pay them the smallest amount possible that you can. It's fucking not true, is it?
I've been there. I've been there, but sometimes you. Certainly what I've done in the past is sat people down and said, look guys, this is the situation, you know, and it is difficult, because certainly when they see you putting in X, Y, Z, and they're thinking, bloody hell, I've earned in that,
I'm responsible for that.
He's sticking that in his pocket. He's sticking that in his pocket and doing X, Y, and you know.
That goes back though, doesn't it, to Sean Taylor's saying the shit they don't see.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sitting up at 12 o'clock at night, still doing the VAT return, or, you know, on a Sunday afternoon, sending well, not anymore, but sending invoices out and all that stuff. And I think I'm quite lucky in the fact that, you know, the guys that work with us know that is the sort of stuff that I do. But you were going to say something, Alex.
I was about to say, so what do you reckon the average of the annual turnover of Tesco is, for example? Just have a guess in the UK.
50 billion?
Billion?
Yeah, it's around that. It's about £66 billion. Now, the thing is those people who work in Tesco's, even from those stacking shelves all the way up to the guy in the tills and to the, you know, even the floor managers. Do you think for 1 second, say, hang on, Tesco's made £66 billion last year? Why am I, you know, I'm responsible? Why is it the same thing that, you know, you think that your lads, right? I'm making this money, but he made that. Why am I not?
There's more distance.
Yeah, there's more distance.
There's more distance.
this goes back to my thing, though, doesn't it? To be probably a good boss in terms of business, not a good boss in terms of life, but a good boss in terms of business, you are probably better off having that absolute distance between them. And you go here and you do that, and I'll pay your wage. And I don't want to fucking know. That's probably the best business boss possible. But when you're a small boss, you fall into that thing of he's falling out with his missus. This has went wrong. That's went wrong. His car's broke down. Like fucking hell. And you're like, oh, almighty. And you have that degree. It's like parent, brother, sister relationship, isn't it? You spend more time with them than you do with your family. So they're sitting there going, well, he's getting all the fucking money, isn't he?
Yeah,
you're, like,
you're not sat in your ivory tower going to your, to the second CEO. Go, tell you what, go and fire him. Go, you're the one that's saying you're fired. Whereas when it gets bigger, you're the one telling out somebody else to go and fire somebody else to fire somebody else. It's all more personal, isn't it?
It is more personal. So do you guys do staff reviews each year, for example? So how do you track the performance of this? Because, there's the subjective approach, which is, I was working with you last week, you're doing really well. The problem with that is you only have to have one bad week and it's going to colour your, thought process for the last year. So do you actually do staff reviews with your team, even though they're not very big? Do you ever sit them down and say, right, let's talk about the good things you've done and the bad things you've done and how we can do better or how we can improve? Do those?
Nope.
No. Do you know what it is, though? I should.
Constantly in a different way.
We do. We've got a layout and areas for development and stuff like that. We just sit down. Luckily, I've now got an operations manager. I've now passed all of that on to, and I just have to do his, which is due now actually. That's something we do is so you've got, first of all, it's about the whole business side of things. So you've got a record of you've given them an appraisal, you've given them areas where you're happy with what they're doing, and areas where you think they could develop and stuff like that. We do that. We do that because I think it's important that you have some sort of record that you sit down.
I think for me, because we're not very big at all. There's only like 4 of us. Ryan, my son, if I tried to appraise him, he'd kick me in the head. And I'd probably just say, Dad, do you want it done? You go and do it yourself. And knowing that I can't go and do it myself anymore. So I'm not going to do that. Neil has been doing it so long that I dare it tell him what to do because he's been doing it 26 years. Ross, I don't actually need to. He's just, I'm just lucky. I just got luck.
I don't think it's about telling him what to do.
No, I don't mean that like that. I mean, if I was to appraise them, then.
Yeah, one, it's it's not just blow smoke up the backside, but it's an opportunity to say, you're doing really well, and I'm really happy with what the way it's going, and this
28. Sorry, Neil.
But also it's not just about their work, their physical work, their pest control. It's about customer service, the way they deal. They're doing really well. They're getting loads of reviews, and it's good to see that they're looking at the big wider picture and stuff like that as well. But it's there's a lot there to be a sort of given praise, and it's not so much saying you're doing this wrong. It's we could do this better, I think.
Then kind of brings me on to the next thing, which is appraisals. Very good for 2 things, as you said. It's for letting people know they've done well. It's for giving them a sense of pride, ownership, passion. But also, and Kelly, I hope you back me up with this, it's also a very good way to be able to manage your staff which are not doing so well. And it gives you a much easier is the wrong, but it gives you much more legitimate foundation for when you do need to finally let someone go, and it will happen to everyone at some point. One of your staff members needs to let go, and if you just let them go with no perceived warning, that can be a host of problems. But if you've got, they've been on performance review, we've tried to make things better, we've talked about it, and we still have these problems, actually, at that point, it becomes a lot more streamlined in that approach, and it becomes less subjective, it becomes less emotional, because it doesn't come out of nowhere. You can say, look, we've been talking about this for the last 6 months, and you still haven't hit its milestone. So what do you think we should do? And sometimes they'll just turn around and say, if I told you this, if I said this employee was doing this thing wrong, not turning up to work every day, what would you do? And that person almost invariably says, I'd probably fire them. And you end up looking in the eyes and say, so where are we going to go from here? So that brings us on to the next bit, which is, how do you then, Kelly, let go of bad staff members?
It's I have never had to sack someone or fire them, or whatever word you want to use. We've had different situations, illness, welfare, but never had to physically sack someone. But I agree with what you're saying. Having gone through the HR, we've got HR support, and there's that legal binding. If you do decide to get rid of someone, you've got to have that paperwork there, because you can't just sack someone if they're over 2 years old, 2 years in employment. Then obviously you've got to go down that. You've tried to develop them first, and that hasn't worked, and you've got to show your written, because at the end of the day they could take you to a tribunal, and then you haven't got a leg to stand up because you've got rid of them and you haven't done it properly. And that's where the whole appraisal is the starting point for that. Taking someone on, you've got to give them appraisals to show them where they're going wrong, which is a bit. It's no one likes doing it, but that's what we have to do. We have to do the appraisals. It's the start point to, if it does all go wrong, you've got evidence that, once again, a signed document, they've signed it, you signed it, that they've got areas to develop. So it's you don't want to get yourself caught out if you go down that route, because the difference with a tribunal is the fact that at the end of the day, it's going to be a financial burden on you and your business, not an insurance or anything else. So you've got to get it right, otherwise it could come and bite you on the arse.
Absolutely. Sean, Hugh, have you ever had to let someone go?
No.
So my dad, that was a whole different scenario, so I'll miss that one. Dave, who left, the only person who really left, we had a difference of opinion on a job, and to his credit, he is a very astute person, and he and I both knew that the situation wasn't going to continue, and or more to the point, couldn't continue the way it was. And that was kind of it. So don't get us wrong, he probably harbors some grudges towards me over it. But I was never nasty to him or fell out with him or anything like that. It was just quite and he's grown and he's old enough to probably, I'd like to think he's got over it now, and if I seen him in the street, I'd say hello, But no, and I don't want to get rid of my two lads. That's like, I don't like going down, and this is what I've alluded to tonight. This is probably why I'll never take somebody else on, because I hear people talk about letting people go all the time. But the one thing that being a boss has taught me more than anything else is you never know what's going on, like at home behind closed doors at the weekend. There's been numerous times where I've ended up with a lump in my throat, and I've been like, I'll tell you this one, and this was like the prime example of like why I stress myself out. So I can remember a situation where I was like up to the eyes, stressed to death, And I'll tell you 2 stories actually. So I was up the ice, stressed to death, and Ellis was working. He hadn't been with us long, maybe 3 months or something. I was sitting in the office, my head was blown, and he come in, he sat down, and it was just like I was totally unaware it was awkward because I was just in the fucking zone, like. And he just turned out and he said, "Do you even want me here?" And I went, "What?" And he went, "Do you even want us here?" I said, "What the fuck are you on about?" And he's like, "I feel like you don't want us here." And I was like, "At this moment in time, you're the only thing that's not causing us stress." You know what I mean? Like, you're the one good thing I've got at the minute, mate. So please, please, please do not think it's you. And like now he'll walk in, and if I'm stressed, he knows, he'll go, it's fine. Just leave him. Give him a day. Give him a couple of days. He's fine. It isn't personal. It isn't that. And when I was telling you the other day about that fuck up with the drains, God bless him, he come to us the next day and he went, "I just wanted to tell you something." And I was like, "What's that?" He said, "You're not that fun to be around when it's like that," which was his my way of saying it's a fucking nightmare. And I was like, "Yeah, but you don't know what's going through their head at that time." And like, I often think when people are let go, we are probably missing opportunities to harness their brilliance. And sometimes if we give them more and listen to them more, we'll get more out of them. And I guess you've got to be astute to know when the time is up and not just fly into that immediate, like, you've turned up late for work, 3 days in a trot, I've asked you not to, fuck off. You know, or here's your written warning, and they go, "All right, well, fuck you." And they throw it away and they wander off, and you're like, it's because his missus is nipping his head. Do you know what I mean? He's caught his missus playing away from home. It's because he's fallen out with his dad. It's because his mum's poorly. He just hasn't fucking told you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and some of these things can go on and on and on. And there's little things. So like, I just believe at this moment in time, I have 2 good lads where they'll come good. Like, not that they're not good now, but you know what I mean? I just feel like they'll really, as they get older, more mature. Because I remember me being their age. Do you know what I mean? And I can see the cogs ticking. I know what they're thinking because I thought it when I was their age. And then you sit there and you're like, I think, and I try to give them stuff that I wish someone had to give to me when I was their age. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and then it's like,
for sure.
You get that. Like, how do you think that people come to you and stop with you because of the wages? And I just don't think they do. I don't think any fucker joins you for the wages. I don't think anyone leaves for the wages. You know, it's a very convenient reason to go. It's a very convenient reason to get rid of someone. I think it's an indicator of the strength of your relationship with your lads. Don't get us wrong. I'm not suggesting you can use that to rip them off in any way, shape or form. You know, like, if I'm nice to them, blah, 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 they'll work for less. That's clearly not the case. What I'm saying is it's that old
Friday afternoon pizzas.
Yeah, exactly.
You see that a lot, don't you, on American things? You know, yeah. It's nice you gave me a pizza on a Friday afternoon, but I want a freaking pay rise.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. Do they want a pay rise? Do they want a pay rise? Because if I had a lad who said to me, "All I want is a pay rise," I'd want to get rid of him immediately.
Okay, but if he said, "I want a pay rise because I genuinely am, you know, in this climate today, just not able to afford to live," and that is a real concern with a lot of people.
You know what I'm saying is, I wouldn't pay them that. What I would expect from or one of the things I look for in them is, I want them to say, "I want to step up." Yeah, all right. Can I run that job? Yeah, you can, yeah. And I'm not there. Then all of a sudden, you're worth the fucking money, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a big bird netting job coming. Do you mind if I get that prepped? I'll get everything loaded up. Can I take charge on that? Yeah. Can I come with you to price that one up? Yeah. How we're pricing it up. And then all of a sudden he's kicked on and you're like, well, now he knows how to price it. And he's like, there's a job coming. I think I can price it. Well, go price it. Oh yeah, I'll give you a commission on that. But if someone just comes to you and says, I just want a pay rise, you're going to give them the incremental pay rise that they are that they are due. So it's like, I want more money for doing the same thing that I'm doing now. I feel like that's an indicator that they are going to waste their life away through not fucking pushing themselves. Do you know what I mean? That's the way
but again, that's the way that you run it. You imagine if you're a big company and they haven't had any sort of pay rise for 5 years or something like that, they're going to go up to their manager and say, "I'd like a pay rise, please."
Yeah, but I think you should leave you long before that. If you're that dickhead that isn't going to.
When I work for Rentokil,
I don't want them. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want a lad who was going to take that. I'd want him to come and see us. So I think I'm worth more money. Are you? Why? Tell us why. All right. Well, let's talk about it. How we're going to get you more money? What can you do to get more money?
But don't you think that depends the organisation that you're in, doesn't it? I mean, if that's all right for our small businesses, but if you're a technician, and I'm sure I hope there are some technicians listening, and they work for Ecolab, Rentokil, any of the big boys, they're not going to go to their supervisor and go, "I think I deserve." You're just going to get a pay rise whether you like. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to approach anybody to ask for a pay rise or be able to even.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure for big companies that's different, but certainly for us, both of my lads have a huge amount of potential, and I want to see them achieve that potential. But if you give them a pay rise for doing the same thing today that they did yesterday, they are never going to achieve it. They're never going to, because it's like, I can sit back, I can do nothing. Like, no. I want you to push on. I want you to be the best version of you that you can be. If I die tomorrow, I want them to be either a wanted commodity or are capable of going out and doing what I do. It'll be a big risk for them, and they'll have to put their hands in the pocket, and they'll have to learn, and they'll sit there and they'll go, "Fucking hell, he was right." You know, like, it is difficult, etc., etc. But I just don't want that lad who goes, "I want a pay rise. Like, I've seen what's coming in, I want a pay rise." Well, you're just not getting the ethos of life, not business, but life. See, sorry, I'll go on. That's random.
It's okay. It's okay, because this is kind of where I was getting at with it, and I'm hopefully Kelly's going to back me up here, or he might not. He might just turn around and tell him I'm a twat. But when you do your appraisals, and the point of appraisals is you can put in these things called KPIs, key performance indicators. These are the things that I want you to do this year. And it's kind of exactly what you're saying, but in a proactive approach, which is, lads, this year I'd like to see you do so many hours worth of learning, and you can choose the learning, but here we go. I want you to try and do these things. I want you to at least once go out and be able to do this. You give them a series of hurdles to jump over with the promise that if they do, then there will be an incentive, whether or not that is a bonus or whether or not that is an incremental increase to their wages. And I think that's a really fantastic tool. It lets everyone know where they are, and from day dot, it gives the clear indicator that that's where I have to go in order to succeed. And it's not just an if, a but, or a maybe. If I do these things, then I will be seen for it. And Kelly, do you use your, how do you?
Yeah, I mean, you what you're doing there is just contextualizing what Sean's saying is that I want you to develop your skills by giving us a quote, when you're doing next rack job, or and they say we want loft clearance or whatever, I want you to do a quote, come back, and we'll talk through it, etc. But yeah, you're adding those sort of KPIs to give development of the individual by almost in a written document, almost. As you're saying, Sean, it's somewhere in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, this is what I was saying, and I think this sums it up. Adam said, won regional national awards, I guess that means doesn't get a pay rise, kept on for manager roles, run the wildlife management teams, they had on more money than he. In the end, I did ask for a pay rise, whether they give him a promotional role or not. This is exactly what I'm saying. I don't think people leave you for money. I think what that says to me is that lad there could see where he wanted to go and knew what he wanted to do and was happy to push, but then he didn't get that opportunity. So then it comes back to the, well, give us a pay rise, and then you've let the lad down. Don't you? If my boys come to me and go, do you know what it is? Like, I'd really love to go on a, I don't know, a Gliss course because they've turned up in here. There isn't one. Well, there's a lad down in Hertfordshire. Let's find him. Let's send him. All right, yeah. We want to do Asian Hornets. They've turned up in Yarm again this year. All right, yeah. I know Robert Moon in France. I'll send you there for the weekend. Document it, do it, and we'll start telling you, and we'll use it. We'll start pushing for it. Like, let's grab the bull by the horns and let's get a hold of it. If Adam comes to you first and goes, when he gives a promotion and I want a pay rise, and if you give me a pay rise, I might become the wildlife man. I might do some wildlife stuff for you. Then that's the wrong way around. I just feel like you need, but when they come to you and they want to do something, that's when you as a boss has to turn around and go, right, okay, how we're going to make this pay? Because it's great shooting pigeons, but if in your area no one's pigeon shot, and then they go, well, actually there is that opportunity. Where is it? How we're going to target them? How we're going to do it? How am I going to help you get there? And then we'll start dragging it in. But this is why I say I'm a very, very poor manager, because if it come down to me to go, all right, yeah, well, I'll put this in place to go and speak to the industrial things, and then I'll put him on there and he can go and shoot pigeons 4 times a day. I'm not that man. I'm the, how are you going to do this? How are you going to do it? How am I going to help you? How are we going to get there? But that's not the best way in the world to do it, is it? Because
I'd say that's about right, actually, because you just by doing that, you're developing your guy anyway. It's how you're going to get the best out of your guy. How are you going to achieve this? And I'm there to support you.
So there was a question earlier, Kelly, about age groups. What sort of age group are your guys?
I have now got a young bunch. I say young bunch. I forget I'm getting old. You know what I mean? Let's see, early 30s. I had some older guys. It's a funny dynamic, the difference between older guys and younger guys, and it's almost like some of the younger guys are just they're eager to get on and show you that they can do it, whereas maybe some of the older guys are, I can do that. I can do that. Well, come on, let's do it.
So here's a question for Sean and Kelly, which is probably one of the biggest questions that small companies that take people on, worry about. Do you worry that you're going to train somebody up and then they're going to go off on their own? Is that a worry that you have?
No.
You can't do that. You can't worry. You've got to. If you're worried about that all the time, you'll never get anywhere. Because at the end of the day, you need, if you've got customers and need servicing, you can't worry about whether they're going to disappear or not. Because if you do your job well enough and you get them trained up and you spend the time, effort, and with them, and you offer those perks and like I said, for me, difference working in London, working Kent, you can have the guy being starting at a normal time, getting home at a normal time, not overloading his work, giving him great opportunities. That's what's going to keep them. So whether if you're going to train them and they're going to disappear, they're going to do that anyway. And
sure,
I know. No, what's that saying? Someone said, imagine what happens if we train him and he leaves, and then someone else turned around and said, what happens if we don't train him and he stays? Like, fucking hell, what you don't have an option. You have to train them. You have to give them the benefit. And when I was a farrier, there He was a 7 times national champion. Gary Darlow, he was an absolute phenom, done everything. And in the farrier world, what happens is you'll get an apprentice, they'll do 3 years with you, and then they'll sod off and they'll do their own round somewhere else. And it always stuck with us because they used to say the best farrier apprentice is one from 300 mile away, because he'll do his 4 years, or 5 years, whichever one it is. And then he goes back home and he sets up his round and he never competes with you. And later on, Gary Darlow said, the worst thing I ever did was take lads on from out of my area. I should have took them on my doorstep. And he said, because what I did was I trained great lads and I sent them away. And that vacuum around me was filled with shit lads who come in, who didn't know the price of a job, who are willing to work for pennies. He said, if I'd have trained the lads on my doorstep who wanted to be farriers, they would have known about a good job, they would have known about pricing, and everything would have been better. So I think, and ultimately, if you're worried that your employee is going to go and leave and he's going to hurt your business, that's because you're worried that he's going to do a better job than you're doing. Yeah. That's ultimately it. So if you're worried about that, then buck your fucking ideas up and try a little bit harder. Competition makes us better. Don't ever be scared of them. Just get on with it. And if they leave, don't be an arse. Be nice with them. You never know when you'll need them. Who fucking cares? It's their life, innit? It's their life. You can't tie people to you. You just can't do it. Just pat them on the back, tell them they're great, and if they've got it, they'll do it. Kelly said it. There's no way in the world I was ever going to be an employee. I'm not designed for it. There was nothing my boss could ever have done to keep me as an employee. I'm not that way inclined. But in the same breath, there's people who are more than happy to be employees for all their life because they want the security and And fucking life's too short to worry about shit like that. And I worry about what they're having for the team, whether they're eating correctly and whether their health's going to catch up with them later on, and whether they're going to invest the money or whether they're going to waste it. But that sort of shit doesn't worry us in the slightest. No, never.
Alex wanted to say something.
I did, because we're coming to the one. We're once again coming up to the 1 hour 30. We're just past that, but we are. And this is something that I think we've accidentally fallen into the trap here. We are 4 people. So used to saying this. We're 4 people who are all entrepreneurs. Lovely enough, aren't we? We all own our own businesses. We all work for ourselves. We all have started off on our own. And we're talking about what our employees should and shouldn't do. But of course, a lot of the folks listening to this are not in the, many of them are, but a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are the employee. Okay, so with that, just before we close down for the evening, what one bit of advice would each one of you give your employees in order to make them better? If you could wave your wand and get each one of your employees or all of your employees to do one thing, because that will help the guys listening to this be better at what they do and get that pay rise and get that advancement and go forwards, what would it be? So, Kelly.
So, for me, what I tell them right at the start when they start work, when they come to start working with me, it's communication. Tell me what they want, as in courses and etc. But how I can develop them. But if you don't know what they struggle with, or how they want to develop, etc., then you're never gonna know, and then you go on this path of we're sticking on that. I think he'd like that. But he might think, oh shit, that's the worst thing they could have done. But unless if you're an employee, talk to your boss and tell him what you want to do. I want to, like Sean saying, I want to go out and I want to do some quotes. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. Because half the time you're in that as a boss. Does he want to do it, or does he not? I don't know. And it works both ways. Obviously part of our job is communicating. We do that as well. But talk communicate with, and tell your boss what you want to do, what you want to achieve.
I think that's so important, isn't it? Which is, we're all talking about development and what, I'd love them to develop, but unless you let them know as an employer how you want them to develop, then and they don't let you know what interests them, because you might be pushing them, right, that's it, you're going to go do drain surveys. Actually, I really want to be a certified field biologist. And, being up to my waist in human effluents does not excite me. I'm going to go look somewhere else. Whereas if they'd told you, actually, I love the small crunchy bugs, you'd be like, fantastic. We need someone to do that. Audits would be lovely. And suddenly both parties are happy then, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, awesome. Hugh, because Sean is staring so avidly at the ceiling there. I can feel it brewing.
I think everything that Kelly said, really. I think the other thing that's quite important is to tell your employer if you are feeling stressed and you do feel like it's all getting on top of you. That's not, making them a better, well, it is making them a better employee, isn't it? If there's something going on that you think, don't hold it in, and don't, like, going back to your employer is not necessarily your best friend, but they should have your best interests at heart. So if there is something going on, do mention it to them.
I'd
or make them aware of it.
Yeah. And not to mention, before you start, Sean, there, we're just coming to the end of Men's Mental Health Month, and I'm going to just chime in with a little bit here before Sean does. We keep using the colloquialism, guys and gals, but there's no getting away from the fact that the majority of our industry is very male orientated, and we are also very unlucky in the sense that we all work on our own, and those two things can be very dangerous. And I don't think there's anyone listening to this, if they are honest, hasn't had a moment in the van after a bad job where they've taken it to heart and it's really got to you, and you've ended up being, driven home in let's be honest, a bad place. And with that, with Men's Mental Health, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, I think both of those things, talking is such an important thing, either to your boss or to your colleagues. But it'd be my one request that people just talk more, and that would be my one request, especially at this time of year, especially with this thing that goes on. So there we go. Everyone hug each other and hold hands. No, don't do that. Sean, what was your one thing?
I would say it's a sort of two-part of this. I would say the first thing is they have to learn to seize the nettle, but to remember that being an employee is a very safe way to operate. So I'm talking specifically to my lads. You want to do bugs, you can go and do bugs, and you can almost fuck up on my time, can't you? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's out, then you've got that opportunity to go and make it work. Whereas if you left on your own to go and do bugs and it didn't work, you haven't got your wage coming in. So if you're going to go that way, it's a perfect opportunity to learn on someone else's worry, if that makes sense. But also to learn to take yourself out of the situation emotionally and see what's going on. Because someone explained this to me when I was younger, and I think it's really good. I work for Kelly, and me and Kelly are falling out because I wanted to do this bird job and Kelly's given it to someone else, and I've took it proper personal. But if you learn to take yourself out of it and you go, right, the reason why he's put him on there is because it's next to his house, and the reason I haven't got it is because I'm over there. And when you go to your boss and you say, listen, I understand why it's went to him. If anything comes in over my way, I really want to do bird work. I really want to do this. Like, okay, no bother. Bollockins are professional, aren't they? They're not. If your boss is giving you a personal bollocking and calling you names, and he's a prick, any. But if it's genuinely a professional circumstance, like, look at that situation and then think to yourself, if I was the boss of this business if I was the boss of this business, what would I do and what would I expect? What would I love my staff to do in order to make sure that this business is safe and secure so that my wages are paid every month and I can pay my mortgage? And all of a sudden it changes your thought process. You're like, right, I've got you. Okay, right, what do we need? All right, well, we do need the money to come in, so I'm going to be a little bit more on the ball with getting payment. Oh, yeah, we can take payments on first visit. And then all of a sudden you're like, right, got you. Like, I want to do bird work. Oh, you're like, it's no good sitting there going, I want to do bird work, I want to do bird work, I want to do bird work. It's like, oh yeah, I can see you've got pigeons there. Yeah, like you've got pigeons. Like, what we're going to do? Like, well, we could bird shoot them. You put yourself in that situation and become involved and but look from the outside of what's going on, and then all of a sudden you'll probably realize that the decisions that are being made are bigger decisions than that very personal situation that every employee, every employer finds themselves in. That's what I would say. Right or wrong, I don't know.
So I think that's a fairly good note to end on that. That's 3 really positive things, which is put yourself in the mindset of your employer. Some of them probably are just squirreling every penny away so they can drive around in a Maserati. But I believe the majority of them are there to make the business work. And so, you are part of that team, and you are part of that team. The better you do, the better everyone else does, and the better you will be out of the end of it. And, as Kelly says, if you want to develop, we're not mind readers as employees. Let us know how to develop. And then finally, as Hugh was saying, if you're not having a good time, guys, let someone know, because it doesn't help you, it doesn't help them. So with that, I think, does that bring us to the end of the show, guys, or do we have any other pressing questions for Kelly?
Well, with don't think so. Unless anybody got any questions that's listening? Anything about hiring, firing, and wages? Nobody.
I think we've covered some good ground tonight. To be fair, we've covered a lot. We've not really stopped for breath or to take orientation, but we have. We've covered hiring, firing, what to look for, what to not look for. I think.
Do you know what would be a brilliant podcast for the future? We've done this again, and we got I know Rob's been on, and Rob will come back. Rob Simpson will tell you about hiring within Rentokil when he worked there. The good, the bad, the ugly, how they did it, and what they did, and the mindset to it, hiring en masse because they needed to. That's an eye opener. It's definitely not something I'd want to be involved in, but that's an eye opener. Maybe he's getting back on, or maybe he's get Rob an employee and an employee on. I was
about to say, or yeah, maybe we should just get rid of Kelly's employees on next. Kelly, give us a lift. We'll bring one of your team on and see how much. Money where your mouth is, so to speak.
I want to ask Kelly a question before he goes.
What?
How beneficial or how important was it, or would you do it again? Your first employee, your first proper employee, a girl for the office or a technician for the road, what benefited your business more?
It's always that big question because you anticipate the admin is not earning. The admin's not earning. The foot soldier is going to be bringing money in. What it enabled me to do is I had my part-time guy, and the next person was my wife doing the admin, because it freed me up to be able to get out there and stop getting interrupted and get on with the job. And it's a difficult one because you as a boss are going to decide what's more important. I could say one thing and someone else will say completely different. But for me, it was initially the second guy, the second person was always going to be another technician. Once you get past 2 people, it becomes hard work to manage the phone for supplying the work for 2. You're there for a reason, because people are ringing you all the time, and if you're constantly on the phone, then it's got to be that third person is going to be the admin person, I think.
It's shocking. It's shocking the amount of administration that three technicians on the road can make. It's astounding.
It becomes a burden, and then you become working at night time to keep up with it all, and it's just I couldn't see it any other way than the third person being an admin person. Absolutely, 100%. Unless you want to be, slave to the desk at night time when you get in. But yeah, it's a must. It's a must, because otherwise your service is also going to dip, I think, personally.
I think you have just made my mind up, haven't you?
Have you not got any admin at all?
No. So what I tried to do was, when I took the two boys on, I tried to come in here and do the admin side of it whilst I relaxed, because I struggled massively letting go of the reins, massively. So I locked myself in here and just go and do it, because I had to, for me and for them. Because I don't know if you believe this or not, but when I turn up on site with them, I just take over. Do you believe that?
No.
And I knew I was doing that, so I try not to go to jobs with them as much as I would like to, because I just don't feel like it benefits them. Like watching me do a job, you learn through working it out, don't you? So, but I think we're probably going to look at an admin sort of girl. I just don't even know what a job description would be, and there lies the first problem. Yeah.
I mean, I went admin, and as I say, at the moment I've got an apprentice as well, and to be honest, fantastic. Really, obviously I know it's dependent on the apprentice you get, but I think it's probably one of the best things I've done is getting an apprentice on board. And yeah, it's made a big difference. I'm the other way, Sean. I've got to the point now where, because I've got an ops manager, I am out that I feel sometimes I'm out of the loop. I don't know fully what's going on he's the man that's moving all the pieces, and I'm a sort of floater stroke help out with this, that, and the other, and I do the B jobs and yeah. So I find it's quite easy now, because I've sort of lost that I'm not at the coalface controlling everything now. Yeah. It happens.
As ever, it's been emotional.
Thanks for having me.
Do you know what the best bit about this is? We can do a question each, boys. Who wants to go first? To Kelly?
What after that?
Pick me. I want to go first. Have you enjoyed your time on the podcast?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I obviously don't know what to expect, and I didn't know where I was going with, didn't know where it was going to go.
That's what we like.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You just don't know where it's going to go, and you don't know what questions you're going to ask. And so, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, I wouldn't say challenging, but it's thought-provoking is what I would say.
Do you know, Kelly, I'm not having to go at anybody here, and Hugh and Alex will absolutely tell you that I'm definitely not having to go on you. But there is some people who are very scared of not having preordained questions and not being able to control the narrative on the podcast. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. So thank you very much for coming on and being honest.
And if anyone listening who wants to be a part of this, I have to say absolutely categorically, no, we're never out to sort of like snag you or entrap you or set you up for a big fall. No, I'm not saying you do, but I mean for those who are listening, and we want as many people to be on this, because as Hugh said last week, and he alluded to it, but I think we need to make a big point of it. This is a podcast for you guys. This isn't just for us. We're not doing this because this is for us. We're not making making anything out of it. We're not sort of like getting any big financial gain. We do this because it's something for the industry, and it's specifically something for you guys. So we're not out to cause trouble and bubble and strife. So if you want to come on, or you know someone who will come on, encourage them, because we're not going to gang up on them. Sean's a dick, but we all know that anyway.
I've met him before, so
Met him before. Yeah, he knows. He knows.
I just want to stress that none of us sit there and plan difficult questions. It's just an honest conversation, isn't it? That's all it is. Like there's no.
I don't think we've ever planned a single question, to be honest.
Never. And you know, the times when we did try to plan a question, we had some questions planned for Dave Helgenson. We're like, let's be professional about this. We walked in, went, tell me about you, and you went, woodworm and wood boring insects. We're like, well, that's there out the fucking window. We just spoke about wood boring insects, didn't we? It's like, yeah, let's not bother planning anymore. Right.
Every time we've tried to plan it.
Sorry, go on, Al.
I was about to say, every time we have tried to plan, it's fallen flat on its face, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Come on then, Kelly. Give us a shameless plug. Go on.
Shameless plug?
Yeah, shameless plug. Go on. If there's one thing that you want to plug, your business, invention, anything.
Can I give Kelly a shameless plug?
Go on then.
If you were in Kent and you want a honeybee removal done, I've seen Kelly's work. I know this industry inside out. If I was in Kent and I was looking for a bee remover, I'd pick Kelly.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
There you go. That's a good plug.
Why is that, Sean? What makes you say
Why
that?
is that?
Because truthfully, when I watch people who, I can see people who've planned jobs and people who haven't a mile off. A donkey's dick off. You know, I can see people who are going to put on their PPE correctly because they want to do a correct job, and then people who don't because they want to show that they're a professional when they don't. Like all the little stuff that I know that go. If you're not wearing your PPE on a day-to-day basis when you're doing honeybee removals, it's because you're not writing risk assessments. You're not doing the, as you say, the admin stuff behind it. So when I see people stood there being like the bee whisperer, I know they're not doing the work. They're not doing the backroom work to it that in my opinion should be done. And I was always taught that they never pay us to take bees out. They pay us to be a safe pair of hands and all that. But so I can sit, you know as well as I do, Kelly, you can watch jobs and you know people who are going, oh yeah, there's bees in the chimney, we'll have them out, and just trying to wing it as they go along. And then other people who are planning every morsel of that job to keep them, their staff, and the people safe. So yeah, I like that.
Cheers.
What's the last one? And who would you? Oh no, that's your question to ask, Alex.
Yeah, Al, you do it because I've done too much. Go on.
Who would you like to see on Beauties and Beasties? If you could nominate one person that you would love to listen to for what we always say is going to be an hour and a half and never gets anywhere close. So who would you like to listen to for 2 hours?
Wow. Yeah, that's thrown me completely. Right. Have you had Dave Brown on? You have, haven't you?
David.
Yeah. I miss that one. I could listen to him all day with his stories. Catch
up on Spotify.
Sorry?
Any episodes missed, you can catch them up on Spotify.
Well done. Good plug. Yes. Oh God. Let's see. It's completely true. You should have asked me earlier so I can think about it. Oh God. For me, I've never done the commercial side of, I don't know much about. I came out of the army. I set up my business. I've always been a small business. I don't know anything about the commercial side of, the Rentokil, the eco lab, and that sort of stuff. So part of me that does interest me, because I know how I do it, and I know how small businesses do it. I don't understand fully how the big guys do it, should we say? But that's just me.
Okay.
Possibly, yeah.
We have had some requests for people to come on to talk about. Oh. Sorry.
Broke up.
I was about to say, we have had some requests for people to come on to talk about tenders and commercial contracts. So, yeah, if anyone can think of anyone who would be great to talk about commercial contracting, for tendering, for bid advice, for things like that, I think that would be really useful, because I think a lot of small to medium-sized businesses and even sole traders and partnerships think that they can't go for tenders, they can't go for bids. These are only things that the big boys can go for. But actually, anyone can put a bid. Anyone can throw their name into the ring. Anyone can do that. So
Norman Smith.
Yeah.
Done a lot of that. Any interesting bloke. Norman Smith would be a good one for that.
Yeah.
You heard it here, guys. Start bombarding him, send him messages, send him pictures, turn up at his house in the middle of the night, say Alex said so. Just keep asking him. He'll love it. He'll be, and we'll get him on as soon as possible.
Perfecto.
Done. That's it.
Right. I think we're done. So with that, good night, everyone. This is us. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.